What if I told you serial killers didn't disappear? They didn't fade away. They didn't retire quietly, and they weren't just scared off by DNA. What if they just kept moving? Not into the suburbs, not into the shadows, onto the highways. The great ribbons of road that cut across America. Interstates, truck routes, back highways, places where nobody stays for long and everyone is passing through. And maybe that's why it looks like the golden age ended, because the monsters stopped living next door and started living behind the wheel. Hey, welcome to Breakfast Cereal. My name's Josh. If you've been following along, you know I've been piecing together this series on the so-called golden age of serial killers. You know, that strange and terrifying stretch in the 70s and 80s when it seemed like Bundy, Dahmer, Ed Kemper were lurking around every corner. And the big question that kicked all of this off was, what happened? Where'd they all go? Because it feels like these days we don't have guys like that. So in one episode, I talked about lead poisoning, in another about DNA. Some people even argue that they didn't vanish at all. They just evolved into mass shooters. So if you haven't seen any of those episodes, I've put them together into a playlist, and I'm continuing to build that playlist. You can check it out on my channel. And hey, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. This video takes on yet another theory. The idea that the killers didn't disappear, they just changed lanes. Fasten your seatbelt because this road trip isn't gonna be comfortable.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
By the late 1980s, neighborhoods were changing. Parents drilled their kids on stranger danger. People double-locked their doors at night. Women walked in groups, trusted their instincts. They reported strange and suspicious cars. The suburbs, the cities, the old hunting grounds were closing in. And on the surface, it looked like the monsters had been stopped. DNA was in play. Policing was sharper. Then you look at the numbers. Now, if you've seen any of my videos in this series, then this graph here won't surprise you. Serial killings fall off a cliff in the 90s. But look at this. Overlay highway killings and something strange appears. As suburban killings drop, highway killings rise. Not gone, just moving. But I mean, don't just take my word for it. The FBI eventually noticed the same thing. In 2004, analysts working cases in Oklahoma realized women's bodies were turning up again and again near highways. When they connected the dots, it wasn't a local problem, it was national. So the Bureau did what the Bureau does best: paperwork. They built a database, the Highway Serial Killings Initiative. They went back through decades of files, flagged every case that fit the pattern, and when they were done, the number was staggering. More than 500 victims linked to America's highways. 500! I mean, look at this terrifying map. The red dots, I don't even have to tell you what those represent. And once the Bureau made the database public, an even more chilling detail emerged: truckers. Many of the suspects linked to multiple cases were long-haul truck drivers. It made sense. They were always on the road. They crossed state lines without raising suspicion. Their schedules and routes gave them cover stories. If you were trying to kill across the country without leaving a trace, there's no better job. Now, of course, I mean, that doesn't mean every trucker is a killer. Far from it. But it does mean that the interstate system itself became a kind of shield, a way to disappear. So, what do you say? Should we look at a couple examples? Yeah, let's do that. Robert Ben Rhoades. Yeah, Rhoades. Trucker named Rhoades. Like Kramer said, it's like an ice cream man named Cone. But anyways, Rhoades, he may be the clearest example. A long-haul trucker, outwardly ordinary, just one more 18-wheeler rolling down the interstate. Inside his cab, though, was something else. Chains, whips, cuffs, basically a torture chamber on wheels. Now, he's suspected of killing dozens of women. And maybe the scariest part is that the only reason he was caught was sheer dumb luck. A state trooper pulled him over and saw a half-naked woman chained up in the cab. Otherwise, he might have kept driving. So I actually have an entire episode on this guy, if you want his full story. Although, be forewarned, I spend maybe a little too much time talking about his favorite looks. This and this. Okay, so next we have the I-70 killer. In the early 90s, a series of murders hit small strip mall shops near Interstate 70. The victims were usually young women, working alone. Now, police in 5 different states chased him, but he always slipped away, onto the highway, across a border, gone before the cases could even connect. To this day, the guy's never been caught. We got this sketch, but that's about it. So was this guy even a trucker? I mean, who knows? Maybe, but maybe not. And lastly, here's a name you might not even recognize, and I didn't until I started researching for this episode. Bruce Mendenhall, aka the Killer Trucker. Clever nickname. In 2007, police arrested him at a truck stop in Nashville. They found blood in his cab, along with weapons and restraints. Mendenhall admitted to killing multiple women, mostly sex workers he picked up at truck stops across the Midwest. They linked him to unsolved murders in at least 6 states. 6 states. He wasn't a neighborhood predator. He was a highway predator. Okay, so that's 3 different examples. Different men, different methods, but the same stage, the interstate. And that's the point. It isn't just about the killers, it's about the environment that let them thrive. Highways work because people exploit everything built into them. They're about motion, about passing through, about leaving no trace. And that's exactly what killers need. Kill in Texas, dump the body in Oklahoma, be in Arkansas by sunrise. I mean, whose case is it? Who investigates? How do the dots ever even connect? Truck stops, diners, rest areas. These are places where people come and go without ever even learning each other's names. Nobody keeps track. Nobody asks questions. And the victims? They're often people already overlooked. Runaways, sex workers, hitchhikers, people cops don't give a shit about. People who could vanish and barely make a headline. And the killers? Days and nights alone in a cab, rolling down dark stretches of road. For Robert Ben Rhoades, that's where the fantasies grew and hardened. The endless hours on the road gave him room to rehearse everything in his mind. The abduction, the torture, the disposal. By the time the guy pulls into the truck stop, he's rehearsed the damn thing 1,000 times. He's played it out in his imagination. The long haul, hunting the highway serial killers, makes this painfully clear. He interviewed FBI agents who worked the Highway Serial Killings Initiative, and they all said the same thing. The interstate is a perfect predator's environment, wide open mobility, victims nobody's looking for, and the built-in camouflage of the trucking world. But, okay, hold up. Let's pump the brakes for a second. Because it's not the 90s anymore, is it? Okay, so sure, the cases we talked about earlier, they all did happen after the golden age was declining. But Rhoades, that was 1990. The I-70 case, 92. Even Mendenhall, the killer trucker, he was arrested in 2007. And a lot has changed since 2007. Long-haul trucking isn't the same anonymous lifestyle it used to be. Think about it. Almost every truck on the road today is tracked. GPS logs mileage, fuel stops, routes. A company can pull up a driver's location down to the minute. Some rigs even have cameras inside the cab recording the driver as they roll down the interstate. That kind of surveillance doesn't exactly make it easy to slip away unnoticed. And it's not just the trucks. Even the highways themselves are wired with surveillance now. Traffic cams, toll booths, license plate readers. If a killer tried to pull off the same routines today that Rhoades or Mendenhall got away with even just like a decade ago, they'd be leaving a breadcrumb trail of data everywhere they went. And you know what? The data backs that up. Okay, so remember this chart from earlier? Well, what if we extend the timeline? So while the highway-linked victims may have been on the rise at the same time that the golden age was declining, in the years that followed, let's say 2010 onward, it started to drop again. And for reference, the first iPhone dropped in 2007. It's pretty much the beginning of widespread GPS use. So, maybe that's part of the reason you don't hear about these highway predators as much anymore. The job still gives opportunity, isolation, access to vulnerable people, constant travel, but it doesn't come with the same invisibility cloak that it did even just not too long ago. If you go missing today, there's a digital footprint to chase, and law enforcement can follow those footprints a lot faster. Still, even with GPS and cameras, the highways are massive. They stretch for thousands of miles through rural areas, dark stretches of nothing. And that's what makes this so unsettling. The tech has made it harder, but not impossible. So, where did all the serial killers go? Maybe they just got mobile. They followed the highways. They learned to hide in traffic. And maybe that's why you don't hear about them anymore. Not because they're gone, but because their hunting ground is just harder to see. So the next time you're driving down a lonely highway at night, headlights stretching into the dark, why don't you think about this? Somewhere out there, in the cab of a truck, or in the glow of a gas station at 3 a.m., the monsters may still be hunting. And maybe the scariest thing isn't that the golden age ended. Maybe it's just that it merged into traffic.